Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here, and we are now at episode 5 of Spider Noir. Now, after the big revelation of last episode where Cat figured out Ben Riley was the spider, we open in a diner where they're having pie and coffee, and Ben tells her how he became the spider. See, back during World War One, they were fighting Germans in France, and they came upon a compound that they were fighting their way into. And Ben found a lot of prisoners there, and he started to free them. And then they found the experimental subjects, where like people were hooked up to things, feeding them stuff from snakes and spiders and all kinds of weird things. And as he went to help them, one who was morphing spider legs out of his abdomen bit him and then died. Ben then ordered everything to be burned to the ground. All this stuff was too horrifying to contemplate. Then, when he finally made it outside, he collapsed, passed out. And then the picture everyone sees was taken of all those people that are connected to the soldiers. You know, Lonnie and Flint and Anderson and all those. And that's why Ben wasn't in it. He wasn't an actual test subject. He was a kind of a Larry Talbot kind of victim, you know. Good guy, doing the right thing, and inadvertently gets cursed. At least in his mind, he's cursed. Well, going back to the then present of that time, let's see where we are. He admits that one of the after effects of this incident that not only gave him the spider powers, there's a lot of carnivorous instincts that also was transferred to Ben. Wanting to feed on blood and things and kill and all that, and he works very hard to keep that suppressed. Wonder if he actually has venom. That would be an interesting thing. Anyway, uh, later, Robbie shows back up at the Bugle with his pictures of the fight between the Spider and Layton, the Electric Man. And he uses him as leverage to get his old job and old desk back, as well as get a retraction printed for the previous story they rewrote and make sure this story got printed the way he writes it. Meanwhile, Flint goes to hunt down Lonnie. And Flint's now back in with Silvermane, and Lonnie is offered a chance to at least meet with Silvermane. Reluctantly, he agrees, and after meeting Silvermane, also decides to throw in and be a henchman. Silvermane's trying to locate all these mutant powers people because he's planning to take on the mayor, which will mean also the police. Well, meanwhile, Janet has found a lot of information. Seems all the people that we've met so far, Lonnie, Flint, Anderson, Layden, were all seeing a doctor at the VA, Faber. And here's the thing, they didn't search her out. She searched them out. So, Robbie and Ben go to the VA, where Robbie, as a reporter, cajoles its way into seeing Dr. Faber, and she takes him outside, so, doesn't want him in the office. Might see something. Meanwhile, Ben sneaks into the office via the wall. And after a little searching and some help from his spider instinct, finds the files on everyone from that troop. And the talk with Faber doesn't go well, although Robbie didn't think it would anyways, but he did strike a nerve with her saying, why aren't you helping them instead of perpetuating the mutant abilities, which she takes very good offense at. Oh, and her assistant is played by the great Andrew Robinson, of Dirty Harry and Deep Space Nine fame. Well, they get up there. Ben didn't have time to get away, so he lowered the files in a web, and then when they enter, he pretends to be a patient looking for a different doctor, which they send him on his way. And then Ogden, the assistant, realizes he saw him in France. He's the missing one they couldn't find. By the time he gets downstairs, they've grabbed the files and gone. Meanwhile, Layden, who's been beaten, standard Depression era interrogation things, but he won't talk. Doesn't really have anything to say. He doesn't know where anyone else is. He's not going to tell how this all came about. Sure as heck isn't giving Dr. Faber away. She's trying to help him, I think. Anyways, Flint and Lonnie go in, trash all the cops, just beat them all to crap. Silvermane comes in, offers Layden an opportunity to join them. Layden agrees, and then electrocutes the man who had been basically torturing him, while spouting a lot of Shakespeare, to which Silvermane almost looks at the camera when he turns and says, "That was weird." Looking at the files, they realize Faber had actually been trying to cure them, but all she's managed to do is bring out the abilities that were laying dormant in them from the experiments. These were some of the lucky ones, as most of the subjects died from the treatments. But it also shows that the more they use their powers, the more it deteriorates them, and eventually they will die from this. Now, Robbie wants to immediately go and print the story, but Ben gets him to hold off for one day so that he can let Kat know, so that she doesn't learn about it in the paper that Flint's dying. Then he gets a call, and he is summoned basically to see Silvermane, which he goes, sees Lonnie, Layden, and Flint there as new members of his army, and he lays it out on the line for him. He saw the picture of the spider with the mare, and he wants Ben to tell the spider not to get involved. This coming battle is between him and the mare. He doesn't need to concern himself with it. Ben says, "I'll try." Flint goes to see him afterwards, saying he knows what Ben did to protect Kat and framing Wilson. And he thanks him for that. But they're square. Anything that comes down at this point he gets in the way, he will take him out. Ben finally goes to see Kat, and he tells her about Flint. And then he asks her to run away with him. Maybe they can find somewhere where they can be together and not have to be in all this. And she agrees. So he goes and he tells Janet he's leaving. And she guesses why and says she's happy for him. And while Kat is doing, packing again, and she gets a call. Flint wants, or no, Lonnie shows up. Flint wants to see her. She goes to him to the theater. Flint's upset with her. If she had wanted Silvermane taken out, he'd have done it for her. He's very angry with her, and part of it is because he knows with the way he's going, they can never be together. He might even know they're dying. Anyway, she finds out from Lonnie the doctor was trying to help them, and in a sense she did, but she couldn't cure them. But she thinks, because the spider is a different kind of mutation, that if she could study him, maybe she could cure all of them. And Ben had mentioned earlier that if there was a cure, he would take it. So she heads to the VA, where Faber and Ogden are planning to get out of town. They know that story's coming out and it's over. They tried their best, but they couldn't help him. And then Kat shows up and tells them the spider is Ben Riley. Boom! Good ending. No spider action this time, although he did break into a office or anything. But this was more setting up stakes of what's going to come in the next few episodes. And we do see that this might be affecting Ben's health too, because he does tend to be a little unsteady after he's the spider. Of course, last time he'd been drinking, so maybe that has something to do with it. But maybe it was a good thing he quit for 5 years. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe because it was transferred through a bite instead of direct through the experiments, he's got a bit of a buffer to help that. Hard to say. But yeah, good intriguing episode. Not a lot of action, unfortunately, but it is doing nicely of setting things up, and I kind of appreciate that. Well, please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.